For many people, love comes in different forms, but for our MC, love comes in the form of a robot. So we have this MC, he's really awkward, single, and he really doesn't have a life outside of work. If he does nothing but go to work and come home, I'm not entirely sure why he's tired of doing the chores, but he decides to buy a housekeeping robot named Mina, and eventually he starts to fall for her.
しかしあれだな。家電製品とはいえ自分のために料理作ってくれるやつがいるって。
Now, before we get into what drew me to this anime, My Wife Has No Emotion, I just want to say real quick, thank you for all your support, and welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you're returning. Here at Anime and Beyond, if you don't know and it's your first time, we try and get into everything and anything, meaning nothing is really off limits. I don't really like being limited, and eventually I would like to get into all sorts of things. Okay, so back to our MC. I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name, but I'm sure it's Takuma. I could be saying that wrong. But anyway, Takuma is our MC, and he's described as a pretty boring guy. And we said earlier that that was primarily because he has no life outside of work. Now, one thing I did peep in the plot is that he's described as really awkward, and I could have overlooked this, but I'm guessing that's implying that he doesn't have that much luck with women. In short, these are the exact characteristics I expect of someone that would fall in love with a robot. And in this video, we're going to talk about quite a few things. One, some questions I had going into this, and maybe some questions you potentially may have as well, which will all be answered. And two, we're going to talk about some challenges that I wish Takuma would have faced with this situation and this marriage of his. Now, what drew me to this anime was curiosity. I watch a lot of anime, a lot of shonen anime, and nowadays, when I look for an anime to watch, I'm looking for something different. And this is what stood out to me because it's a guy having a literal relationship with a robot, which doesn't really make any sense. So I would definitely give this anime a 10 out of 10 for being different and unique and captivating my attention. Now, some questions I had going into this. How would he be intimate with this robot? How would he have children? Did he give up on children? And how would the outside world perceive their relationship? I also wondered if Takuma would feel any sort of embarrassment with being with a robot. Let's start with intimacy. Now, I'm not sure how the manga did it or how far the manga went with this level in their relationship, but as far as I'm aware of, there was no intercourse. Now, there is a newer model called Super Mina, so I'm not sure if it's possible with that model or not, especially since she looks a lot more human compared to Mina. But even though there was no intercourse, they did have intimacy in some form. They would bathe together, they would sleep together, and they would kiss. Now, at first, kissing seemed a little bit difficult because she couldn't really feel anything as a robot, which makes sense, but Takuma discovered that Mina has some sensitivity on her hands and was able to kiss her hand so she could feel a little something something. Personally, this was one of the things that I liked about this anime because this was a question I had and this was a challenge for the relationship, and I feel like the anime handled this really well. Next, let's get into children. Usually, in most cases, the next step after marriage is to have a child or have children. Earlier, I mentioned going into the anime with this question because committing to a robot and getting married to a robot, there's obviously no way to procreate with the robot. Like I mentioned before, I'm not sure if the manga goes into this or if it's possible with Super Mina, but as far as Mina and Takuma's relationship goes, I wish they would have explored that side a little bit more and let us get into Takuma's head a little bit more. I mean, granted, he pretty much did accept the mini robot as their child and viewed the mini robot as their child. Not entirely sure how to pronounce his name, but I think it's Mamoru. That's as close as I can get. And I also think this topic came up a little bit when he went to take Mina to meet his parents, but I still do think a little bit more focus could have been made on what exactly he's sacrificing by committing to a robot. But that's just me. Next, let's get into the outside world and how the outside world perceived their relationship. This was also a question I had going into it because it's not every day that someone's getting married to a robot. Now, I was shocked to find that this is actually normal across seas. I think I remember that being said in the anime during the beach episode.
あ、いや。
海外ではロボット婚が流行していると聞きましたけど、国内でもしている方がいらっしゃるとは。
話が変な方に。
法的には認められていませんから大変ですよね。
So that was pretty interesting to learn. As I watched the anime, I also found out that there are certain procedures that are followed based on what the robot is to you. I believe this was shown maybe in episode 4 or 5 when Mina left for 2 weeks to go get some modifications and go get checked out.
当社がロボットをメンテナンスする場合、プログラムを点検し、必要とあれば修正や削除が不可欠です。
はあ。
ですが、家族としてお迎えいただいている場合は話が変わります。
I will say I would have liked to see a little bit more mixed interactions with the outside world. On the robot's end, when Takuma encountered other robots, they seemed pleased and happy that they were being looked at as family. But on the human side of things, all we really saw was his family asking him questions, like his friend or coworker asking him questions, and his parents asking him a few questions here and there that got him to think a little bit. But there really wasn't any negative perceptions on the human side, which is kind of what I expected. For me, I think seeing a little bit more negative reactions to his relationship with Mina would have not only been a challenge to the relationship, but it would have made their situation a little bit more realistic in a sense, which I know is weird to say about an anime, but I can't help but feel like that would have been an interesting opportunity to see how Takuma and Mina would be able to move past that. And with that being said, let's get into my last question I had going into this anime, and that's if Takuma felt any sort of embarrassment from his relationship with Mina. And to be honest, as I watched the anime, he did have a scene where it seemed like he was embarrassed.
お客さん来るみたいでさ。ミーナちゃん、悪いんだけど少しここに入っててくれるかな。
His sister was coming over, and he actually told Mina to get in the closet. But you could see him think about it, you could see his emotions kind of on his face, and he told her to get back out of the closet a few moments later. This was really the only time we saw Takuma embarrassed about Mina. But overall, if I had to critique this anime about anything, I still give it a 9 out of 10. But I would have liked to see Takuma experience a few more challenges. One challenge that would have been great for Takuma and Mina's relationship is for an actual woman to show interest in him. In that situation, it would have been interesting to see if Takuma's feelings would stay true for his robot wife, and if he would still choose her in the end. Something else I wanted more of, I wanted Takuma to face a little bit more scrutiny. Now what I liked about this anime is he did face a little bit scrutiny.
これはちょっと趣味が悪いんじゃないか？
これ？
こんなロボットと夫婦ごっこなんかしてたらいつまで経っても彼女できないぞ。
But it would have been nice to see Takuma and Mina go more in the outside world, have dates, and maybe get a few stares here and there. In the anime, they did mention how this was popular overseas, but it would have been great to see how that's dealt with in Takuma's area, where it isn't that popular. Overall, I like this anime a lot. I would give it a 9 out of 10, and it is definitely something I would recommend. Not only did this anime do a really great job of answering most of my questions, but it was also a nice surprise that this anime turned out to be pretty wholesome. We got to see Mina's backstory or her memories. We got to see her perception of Mamoru change little by little. And more importantly, by the end of the 12 episodes, it really felt like you were watching an actual family. Anyway, that's all I have on this anime for now. I would be delighted if it got a season 2, but I wouldn't be upset if it didn't get a season 2. If you didn't check this anime out, I would recommend it. If you did watch this anime, please let me know what you thought about it down below in the comments. I'm also curious if you agree with me giving it a 9 out of 10 or not. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Be sure to subscribe. SierraNovaa is out.